Welcome to New Mexico Black Rifle Operators Union. I'm your host, Sean. Tonight I wanted to cover a couple topics that have been interesting relating to the Constitution. Gavin Newsom has proposed that since they're not gaining any traction and they're seeing that they're losing in court, and when I say they, the left, on the gun issue specifically, he's proposed a constitutional amendment, the 28th Amendment, to basically defang the Second Amendment. Now, to do this, he would have to have 2/3 of a vote in both houses of Congress, so one in the Senate and one in the Congress, or have 2/3 of the states request a convention. Now, this leads to the second topic, the Convention of States. Now, I've heard it on many podcasts that a convention of states could possibly remedy the issues we have with the Second Amendment. But there's two issues, I believe, that are kind of so divisive. Abortion and the Second Amendment, that it would actually, I think, lead to a civil war if there was a convention of states. What happens is, if one side got shut down, meaning that they actually didn't get any traction with what they were thinking in a convention of states, the other side would pull away. And I think that would lead us down the path towards an actual hot civil war. I think we're in a cold civil war right now. Now, do I think that Gavin Newsom has the votes or the capability of getting 2/3 of Congress and 2/3 of the Senate? I think he could get the Senate without a problem. I don't believe he could get 2/3 of Congress. Now, that being said, there's a lot of turncoats in both houses of government, the House and the Senate. So there's where I have the, holy crap, I don't know that I trust them, mostly because I don't trust the government nowadays anyway. It was just released tonight that, today, in fact, that there are 17 audio recordings of the stuff that happened with Burisma. Now, if you're not familiar with the story, I'll give you a quick synopsis about this. Basically, Burisma is a gas company, a Ukrainian gas company that employed Hunter Biden. And these audio clips, or audio in general, of what is supposed to happen actually are supposed to conclusively prove that the stuff on Hunter Biden's laptop where they mention the big guy is in fact Joe Biden, and the audio proves this. Now, if that's true, we won't know. In today's day and age with AI, it kind of makes it even more suspect that we just magically have these appear. It's what is more interesting about that whole situation is there's a ton of evidence, yet we're not seeing any movement there. But back to Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom is kind of toxic in the political circles. He wants to run for president, but he can't because Biden's in the way. If they get rid of Biden, then I could definitely see Gavin running. Now, if you don't know who Gavin Newsom is, he's the governor of California. And if you don't know what's about to happen in California, is FPC has several cases, and so does GOA, that are coming up against their magazine ban, and it looks like it's probably going to get repealed. Now, I've said this before, and it has been back and forth, but there are other things that have added to this. Specifically, he's basically banned pistols in in California. And the reason why is he's requiring or trying to get the Senate and the House there in California to push micro-stamping mandates for technology that doesn't exist. Basically, he's wanting the firing pin to be, or they are wanting, I should say, a firing pin to be able to imprint a serial number on each case, or where the primer is, when it's fired. Now, this technology doesn't exist. It would be very cost prohibitive for manufacturers to try to make said technology, even with new manufacturing capabilities. So it's basically, if this passes, and it has passed to some degree, but it's being repealed back again, it basically eliminates all sale of firearms, specifically pistols, in California. It's terrifying to think that this stuff could be national if this man gets any kind of traction on the national stage. He looks a lot to me like a used car salesman, that, not begrudging or besmirching used car salesmen, because maybe I could end up selling them one day if things don't go right. But I really think that Gavin is kind of toxic, and you can look around and see the policies in California, and they're not working. And even the left is starting to abandon the left. They're tired of being robbed. They're tired of running into feces on the street, literal human feces in the human street. The crime situation in California is getting out of hand. The open drug use is getting out of hand, has already been out of hand. The actual going into businesses and raiding them is becoming more and more of a problem, and businesses are leaving San Francisco specifically, but they're leaving California in droves. This is going to drive a wedge between normal people and the state. And when I mean the state, I mean the government. You cannot keep oppressing the populace and inconveniencing them in this way. And that's what is exactly happening right now. You cannot defend yourself in those states, and you only have to look at Daniel Penny, the stuff that's gone on with that in New York, where he tried to save people from a bad dude who was trying to do bad things, and the guy ended up dying. He choked him out, and anyway, long story short, that is what they're trying to do, is demonize self-defense. Now, why do I say the Convention of States wouldn't work? Everyone that has been talking about a Convention of States has predicated their ideal on that it would cause both the left, specifically the Democrats, to play by the fair game. And that's not what would happen. None of these politicians would play fair. They would play to win. That's all they care about. They don't care about the effects or the side effects of winning. And in which case, that would drive a wedge firmly in a place where I could see one side, either the left or the right, or the normal people, basically saying, if my rights no longer exist, then you don't have a point to existing, and throwing down the gauntlet, and we end up in a hot civil war. Now, it is a great idea. It is one of the founding tools we were given. It's just I don't have a lot of hope for how it will be carried out because of what I just said. If you look at the national map right now, there are 35 states that are constitutional carry. This is law of the land now. So why are we still having this debate about Second Amendment issues? To me, this is settled a long time ago. It was settled when, they wrote the Bill of Rights. But that's not how the left works. The left only believes the only truth is power. And all they care about is getting power. And the people that we're seeing in the streets rioting and burning things and shoving this trans gay pride stuff down our throats is the people that want to, there's a lot of them that want to see the world burn. They think it'd be funny to see the world burn. And that's where they're wrong. These people have never seen the horrors of war, never studied history. They never understand that if you're going to be a communist or a socialist and you're one of those useful idiots, as Yuri Bezmenov said, you're going to end up against a wall. You're going to get shot. You're one of those people that was useful to get into power, but once those people get into power, you're absolutely useless. You're a useless eater. Therefore, they're not going to keep you. And that's what they're playing with. They're playing with fire and not realizing what the hell they're doing. Now, I looked at this a lot for how the 28th Amendment would have to be passed. And I had to revisit my civics classes from, high school and junior high. Because I had the answer already. I remembered it. I was actually kind of shocked that it would take the 2/3. I rattled it off right away, and then I went, well, let me double check that. And then doing the research, I was like, yeah, the odds are against them passing the 28th Amendment if people hold to their values. Now, what I mean by hold to their values is that they're afraid of being unelected. If everyone that was in the two-way fight actually called and did what we are supposed to be doing instead of just sitting on our laurels, there's a potential that it would be summarily dealt with, at least in the House. Because in the Senate, I believe they have a 2/3 majority, and I believe they could pass it there. But it has to pass both House and Senate to become law, just like any other bill. And it'd have to be by such a margin that it's 2/3 of the voting body in those two houses. Here's where the heartburn runs. We have several people that we've elected, and we always get into that place that they're going to hold the line. And then when the chips get down and the hand's called, they don't hold the line. We saw that with the debt ceiling. We're seeing it with this time and time again. You couldn't look at today's news, especially about those recordings, and think that there's not a two-tier justice system in the United States. And to think that the average guy would win one for once, especially on something so crucial. And why is the Second Amendment so crucial to someone like me? It boils down to what Dave Chappelle says. And it's been something that my father, my grandfather, my cousins, everyone in my family. So as I was saying, the discussion with the 28th Amendment, I don't believe it's going to be a thing. I would like to think that they stop it. But we're in a different place. So I'll leave it there as I was interrupted, and I'm pretty sure I got everything I wanted to say out with this. I think the Second Amendment is safe for now, as long as we are very vigilant and we stick to our guns. Like, share, subscribe, be great. Also, just because I use Be Great all the time, and you guys know I'm a fan of Eric July, he dropped the second comic book. Have a good night.